Welcome back to Baker Baker. My name is Leo. Today we're testing out sourdough starter. Here I have a 100% hydration starter, and right here I have a 60% hydration stiff starter. What I'm gonna do today is pretty much do the same recipe for both. I'm not altering any hydration aside from the hydration from the sourdough starter. Water will be the same, flour's gonna be the same, salt's gonna be the same. Everything is just swapping out the stiff starter from the liquid starter. Random side note, this here is about less than 2 years old. This is my second sourdough starter that I've made. A couple years ago when I moved, I had forgot to feed and so forth, and the move kind of dispelled the sourdough starter I had. So this one, I named it Tu Madre. Sourdough starter in Spanish is called Masa Madre, which means, mother, because this is the mother of all the spawns, or the mother, as you would put in a apple cider vinegar. I'm able to cultivate from this. So this is the mother. This is the second rendition mother has, so that's why it's called Tu Madre. When I made this one, I was looking for a new name, and I was chit-chatting with my sister, and she gave me the name Stifler's Mom, and I found that quite hilarious. So shout out to my sister for giving me the new name for my stiff starter. With that being said, we're gonna switch over to the down camera. Gonna mix both of these doughs up, do a side by side, and take you through the steps of what I'm doing to both and figure out what the difference is. All right, before we get started, let me give you a close eye view to the starters. Liquid starter moves around, quite bubbly. This is the stiff starter. Looks a little more dry. As you can tell, it just doesn't want to move. Today we're using 432 grams of a bread flour. The bread flour I use is a company close by called Ardent Mill. They're here in Southern California. This is their Chiral bread flour that I got from Costco. I believe this is like almost 14% protein. I could be wrong. I'll double check that in post. 432 grams. Scale. Bowl. Zero out. We need 312 grams of water. $96 grams of our starter. Let me grab a spatula. There you go, 96. Okay. Set that to the side and do the same thing for our stiff starter. Then we need 96 grams of the stiff starter. That's weighed out, flour's weighed out. Let's get to mixing. Oh. Come on. Alright, starting off with the liquid starter first. Pretty much what this is going to do is skip the shaggy dough phase I got to deal with your hands. This kind of just mixing everything together just so I can avoid the mess with my hands. Flour in. And bring it together. Alright, if you see here, it's mostly together. We are going to do an auto release for about 20 minutes or so. Then we add the salt, mix it a little bit more, and then get to stretch and folds and so forth like that. So this is, like I said, liquid starter. Now time to do the same with the stiff starter. Okay. All right, and just in a few seconds, we have stiff starter mixed up. Side. I have these little plastic covers, bowl covers. Out of the way. Stiff, liquid, covered, 20-minute auto release. I'll be back, clean up in the meantime. See you then. All right, we're back. It's been 20 minutes. Dough hook. Here we have 10 grams of salt. Mix away for about 2-3 minutes. Just incorporate the salt. Do a little bit of glue development. And then we move on to doing the same thing for the stiff starter. It's only been maybe a minute or so. Just needed to incorporate that salt. Wet my hand to get this dough out of here. Okay. Whoa. Well, that's there. Get a spatula and scrape down. Dough right now is at about 80 degrees. Dough right now is at about 80 degrees. Cover it up. I'm gonna give this about 30 minutes and we'll start our stretch and folds, and let's move on to the stiff starter. Once again, 10 grams of salt. Goes, lock, and begin. Right, and just like that, incorporated. Wet the hand a bit, clear the dough hook. Move the bowl. Set that to the side. Dough scraper. Okay. Temperature right now, 78. Cool. We'll be back in 30 minutes and do our first round of stretch and folds. All right, we are back. First 30 minutes out the way. Get everything else out the way. Liquid starter, 100% hydration. A little handy dandy water. Wet your hand. We're gonna do our first stretch of folds. Grab, pull, overlap. And if your hands get sticky, add a little bit more water. Keep going till it gets stiff and not stiff, but it resists. Could be 4, could be 6, could be 8 times. Just gotta trust your dough. And with that, whoa. Flip it over. All right, we are back for stretch and fold number 2. Once again, starting off with the liquid starter. Nothing too crazy. Just building that structure. Cool. All right, we are back for round 3. This time we are doing coil folds, not stretch and folds. Coil folds is we're gonna go in, pick up from the middle, and let it kind of collapse amongst itself. Fold amongst itself. Come on, come on. See, boom, 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 boom. One more. Cool. Look, there's already a bubble forming over here. We're building them layers of flavor or whatever. All right. All right. I'm going to set another timer for an additional 30 minutes. Maybe do another set of coil folds. Maybe not. Then we'll let these ride out. We'll test the pH level, temperature, and kind of see where we're at when we get into our bulk fermentation phase. So we will be back. All right, we are back for the final stretch and fold. And once again, we will begin with the liquid starter. See the bubbles? All right. What I am gonna do is transfer to an additional bowl once we're done. I have the very least amount of oil I could put in there just so I could release the dough once we're ready to shape. Wet the hands. Under there. Stretch. Coil fold it. Build that tension. And with that, we transfer. Dough temp right now, it is at 77. We'll be covering this with a different color cover just so I don't get confused. Gonna let these things hang out for a few hours, and we'll come back, shape, and put in our bannetons. Alright, we are back, and to my surprise, after a few hours, the 100% hydrated leaven has reached its bulk fermentation. So let's get her out, get her shaped, and see if the stiff one is ready when we're done shaping this. Just so you guys can get a reading. It is 4.36 on the pH level. Okay, we're gonna loosen this up real quick. We're gonna throw some. All right. Loosen, loosen, loosen. There you go. Oh, let's bring it in the frame. Nice and bubbly. Set that to the side. We're gonna let this hang out for a bit. I'm gonna check on the stiff one, pause. If not, we'll wait for this one, do a second shaping, put in our banneton. But first, before we do all that, let me check the stiff starter dough. Okay, there's some fermentation going on here. We're right at 4.5. I don't feel like waiting, so we will continue on with this one. Get out. Get out. All right, and proceed to all right. Gonna cover these up for about 10-15 minutes. Come back, give them a second shape, dust with some rice flour, and be put in the banneton. So we'll be back. All right, we are back after the 15 minutes. Okay, kind of flattened out, but we should be good. So the next stage is to do a second shaping. This right here is rice flour. Once I finish shaping, I will put some rice flour in here, and then I will put it in my banneton, aka a little chip basket. It's one of these little nettings in there. So, without further ado, let me see how am I going to do this. Oh, I may have messed it up. Okay, here she goes. Just a little on top. And to continue keeping track, we'll cover this with yellow for the 100% hydrated. Okay, stiff starter. Okay, a little bit of flour this time, so it doesn't stick to the table. Okay, move this way. A little stiffer than the liquid one, as the name says. Cool. We have 100% hydrated sourdough starter, 60% hydrated sourdough starter. I'm gonna let this hang out on the counter for about another 20 minutes, and then these will go in the refrigerator overnight to cold proof / cold ferment / whatever you want to call it. And I will see you guys tomorrow when we bake. All right, let's get these baked off. Overnight cold proof. Let's see how it goes. Let's get these scored and on some parchment paper. All right. Stiff starter, so we will mark it as so. Okay, this one we will just do that. Okay, gonna get these baked off and we'll come back. All right, after the bake, this is what we got. This is the liquid starter, little toasty bottom. You'll hear that on the microphone. Then stiff starter, super toasty bottom. Let's cut them up and see how they look. bubbly. All right, and we got the stiff starter. You hear the wind blowing. Hold on, watch. Crazy. All right, let's cut a slice. Okay, this is the liquid starter. Okay. Oh. That cut crooked. But here this goes. All right. Let's give it a taste. All right. First, we will start off with the 100% hydrated starter slash leaven slash whatever I've called it throughout this video. Tanginess, what you would suspect from a sourdough. Quick palate cleanser. Stiff starter. Less sour than traditional starter. Not as good as a year. There's no, you can barely see it come here. Tangy as a traditional starter or traditional sourdough loaf would be. Like I said, this was just straight bread flour. There was no other whole wheats or any other grains, so this was just to get the pure taste from the leaven, from the starter. Good fermentation, good bubblage, if that's even a word. Did lack some color. That could be the different styles of Dutch oven I was using. I had just a normal pot, closed lid, and this one was in the double pot, so it was more of, you know what I'm saying. Normal pot with the lid was for the regular sourdough starter. This, along with the top half. So when I took the top half off, there was more surface area exposed to brown and give me this color. But now onto this one. From some of the research I saw, they said that the stiff starter has more yeast. Not even gonna give you that mumbo jumbo. But overall, nice blistering. You can see the ear there. You can hear the crunchiness. Less tangy. Overall, a bigger spring. Better rise, if that's the word I'm looking for. Overall, the main thing about that is it's less messy when you're maintaining a starter, a stiff starter. Because once that flour and water mixture hits whatever you're using, if you don't wash it right away, it becomes cement. Pretty much what wheat paste is, just water and flour and That thing dries and is very difficult to clean if you're not on it right away. With this one, since it's less hydrated, or since the starter is less hydrated, it's more easier to work with instead of with the traditional one using, I think I use a chopstick to mix everything up. I use a spatula for this one, and once it all becomes cohesive, get gloves, roll it up in a ball, put Tui back in its container, and it's easier to maintain and throw away. It's a lot easier to clean, so I'm not putting the starter down my drains. But yeah, this was just a quick test, testing out 100% hydrated starter versus 60% stiff starter. So more to come. I do plan on bringing some more meat stuff back to my page. Who knows, let's make a full-blown sandwich. Well, I make the bread, make the deli meats. Probably not gonna grow the produce I'm gonna put on there because I don't got time to do that. But appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. This is Leo from Baker to Baker, based out here in Rialto, California. If you live around here, support me when I sell these on the streets. Until next time, thank you.